doing so.
Let's
Glad
do
you
it.
got things understood.
I will take that one on the chin, Miss Rhonda.
Recording has started.
We're down here in pouring rain in Melbourne. We're very wet and we're very cold. We're going from one extreme to another. So please
We're
don't.
obviously summery up here.
I'm talking, Rhonda. Again, good morning, everyone. Can you believe it's been a month since we got together? But welcome back. I was going to make mention of our founding president, Mr. Charlie Nichols, but he's still trying to program his phone at the moment, and he will be joining us shortly. So we'll welcome him. Our guest speaker, Yvonne, will be, I believe, booking back in at 8 o'clock. Jeremy, is that correct? Okay,
yes,
so welcome in her absence. And our 5-minute speaker this morning is Susan. So get prepared for some good education and some thoughts this morning. We need to go through the process of our introduction and our thought for the day, as well as giving yourself a plug, giving your business a plug, and putting your hand up if there's anything we can help you with. Now, Harry, I think I put it on you last month to judge the best thought of the day, did I?
You did.
Okay, well, you did such a good job. I think you could do it again this month. So, well, let's just start with Rhonda, if we can. Rhonda.
Okay, I am Rhonda Buttery, and my business activities involve nutritional products that are made from food, not from petrochemicals. And my other activity is selling and teaching people how to use astrology software. And my thought of the day is, regardless of what happens, if you open your brain, there is always an upside.
Very good, Rhonda. Thank you. Harry.
Oh, my thought of the day. Good morning. My name is Harry. I am a licensed real estate agent in the sunny side of the Sunshine Coast, Queensland. And my thought of the day is from one of my very favourite writers and entrepreneurs and spiritual people, I guess, Neil Donald Walsh. And consider the possibility that the obstacles in life are not obstacles at all, but stepping stones.
Very good. That's a winning thought.
It is. I thought that too. Thank you.
Young Jeremy.
Young Greg, thank you for having me. I didn't think you'd have me back after last month. My name's Jeremy Britton from Boston Trading Co. Oh, here's my little Boston Terrier. Oh, and we make cryptocurrency safe and simple for everyone, which makes it a lot more fun. And my thought for the day comes from a old-fashioned bloke, Robert Louis Stevenson. Don't judge each day by the harvest you reap, but by the seeds that you plant.
Deep.
Jeremy, you're a bit faint there on my end. I've got texts coming in from Charlie saying that it's an invalid meeting. So I'm trying to manage him in the process as well. Right. Susan.
Okay, well, my thought was already mentioned earlier on before. If it's to be, it's up to me.
Oh, I love that.
Very good.
Simple,
yeah.
Simple.
Okay, V.
My name's V Comstock, and I promote the power and presence. And my thought of the day would be, all of a sudden there's a very loud truck going by. I apologize. The power, the thought of the day is my own, and it's a quantum question. That's loud. Sorry.
We can't hear it.
The water truck. I'm in Hawaii. They're big. Okay. It's a quantum question to bypass the programmed mind. And I say, how do I feel realizing I am?
Very good. Very good. Thank you very much. Okay, Alex.
Good morning. Well, I'm just back from 6 weeks around Europe. Managed to get COVID on the way back through Dubai, so felt like shit for a couple of days. But coming right now. And yeah, I'm helping people get toxic chemicals out of their household by switching stores to much better, safer products at the same price as what they are already paying. And my thought for the day comes from Mary Lou Retton. Optimism is a happiness magnet. If you stay positive, good things and good people will be drawn to you.
Very true. Good one. Thanks, Alex. Where's the infamous Marts?
Marts, that's me.
How are you, bud?
I'm doing well, doing well. So I hail from Club Med Christchurch, New Zealand. Not very Club Med at the moment, I can assure you.
Oh dear.
We definitely didn't leave any washing on the line last night, would have blown away. However, I work with a company, or at least I founded a company called Wits End's Profit Labs, and we're committed to realising our clients' goals through quality service, collaboration and fun, utilising a winning tribe environment. So we specialise in business development, business strategy, and on the side, we are full-time professional speakers as well. My thought for the day is, the codfish lays 10,000 eggs. The homely hen just one. The codfish doesn't cackle to say when she is done. And yet we scorn the codfish, whilst the homely hen we prize, which demonstrates to you and I that it pays to advertise.
Ah.
Boom, boom. Anne Carlson.
Anne's posted her chat. Would you like me to read it? Because she's dashing about.
Oh, is she okay?
Her thought is, the book you don't read won't help. And that's a quote from Jim Rohn.
Nice.
Right. And you said Anne's running about.
Yes, she's getting ready to travel. So she's listening on the phone, but she's not on video and she's muted.
Righto. Well, my turn. Greg Eldred in downtown Wet Melbourne. My company's Executive Business Solutions, and we specialise in 3 products in business commodity products like copiers, printers and fax, air purification for the health industry, and waste management in the commercial sector for hospitals and restaurants and hotels. My thought for the day is, if opportunity doesn't knock, build a door. Rhonda? Now, I did have Charlie Nichols next, but old Fumble Fingers can't somehow get on board. Now, so
Are we
we
going
don't-
to give Yvonne the chance to do a thought?
Who?
Yvonne.
Speaker.
Yeah, fair enough too.
Oh, Yvonne, welcome back.
We didn't see you come in.
Introduce yourself and give us a thought for the day.
Hi, I'm Yvonne Adele. I'm a professional conference MC and speaking coach. And my thought for the day is, what other people think of you is none of your business.
How true that is. Thank you very much. All right, young Harry, we're back to you for the best thought of the day.
Oh my gosh, I'm emotionally damaged now because they're all really good. I can't give it to everyone, right? The one that it's got 2 hearts on my list is from Alex.
Oh, thank you.
Wow. I think there's some favoritism there. No,
The 2 hearts have it. Alex, you want to repeat your thought, please, for us?
Optimism is a happiness magnet. If you stay positive, good things and good people will be drawn to you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
thank you very much. Okay. Time for our 5-minute speaker. This morning it's Susan Cutforth. And I believe March is going to do the introduction for Susan. Am I right there, Jeremy?
Of course. You're
More
all
than happy. More than happy. Let me introduce. So New Zealanders are known for their ingenuity and their exports. A notable export is our own Susan Cutforth. Susan joined SWAP in 1997 and became a member of the Auckland Achievers SWAP Club. She loved it so much she served as president in 2000. She's got a varied career with positions in office admin, sales and self-employment. Currently, she works in local government in Phoenix, Arizona, where she's been for the last 13 years. Let's give a SWAP rapturous welcome to Susan Cutforth.
Whoa!
Thank you, Mark. It's nice to see you. You know, the connection that we have with SWAP people is just forever and everlasting. And I think there's Charlie there. Yeah, I've just absolutely loved SWAP. So I was just going to give you a brief outline of my time in SWAP. And like Rhonda, I actually joined in 1997 when I had a business associate suggested that I came along to a meeting. He said, this is going to be a group of people that you're going to love. And he wasn't wrong. So after I went to my first meeting, I was absolutely hooked. So I jumped in, got involved. I went through all the levels that we had at the time of bronze, silver and gold. And I remember thinking at the time, I would love this to be a full-time job. Like I did eventually become president. And I thought, wow, wouldn't this be great if this was my actual full-time job, because I loved it so much. So looking back now, we had lots of big breakfasts. We had Alan Pease, who was our guest speaker a few weeks ago, and I was given the opportunity to thank him. And I said, you know, you were our guest speaker at a big breakfast. And they were a lot of fun. Every year we had a weekend summit. So we went to somewhere in New Zealand and had 3 days of fun. We went to a few conventions, went to one in Brisbane. There was also one in Rotorua. And eventually I met a person at SWAP and he offered me a sales job, and there was training in Wollongong, Australia. And I think one of the reasons why I wanted to go was because of the travel, because I was going to go around Australia. So I did. So I went over to Wollongong, trained for like 10 days, and we went to Melbourne. Then we went to looked all around at Sydney at all the different properties. Then we travelled up the Gold Coast. We flew into Coolangatta and went right up to Brisbane. So that was a great week. I enjoyed it just as much, just looking around and seeing all the different properties and experiencing different places. And some of you, I mentioned last time, recently I joined the Aussie Sheilas in Arizona Facebook group, and I meet up with them once a month. So I'm now kind of an Aussie Sheila as well as a New Zealander. And through that, there was a Kiwis in Arizona group, and I met a guy called Graham. Graham, sorry, it's just his last name has gone from me. And we were talking, and he's a magician. And I said, look, I know a couple of magicians in New Zealand, Alan Watson and Richard Webster. He said, those are my best friends. I've known them for years. So that night I contacted Richard and said, hey, guess what? I've met Graham Murphy, one of your best friends. And so Richard was very happy to hear from me, and we've connected. And I said, next time I come to New Zealand, we're going to get together and meet. Also, the awards nights were always a lot of fun. I remember, it was a great opportunity to dress up, get a really beautiful dress and go off and all the glitz and glam. So SWAP was a really big part of my life. At one time I was self-employed, so I was able to go to Auckland Achievers on Tuesday, West Auckland on Wednesday, North Shore on Thursday. And so I managed to get three meetings in a week. And the sales job that I had, I travelled around the northern half of the North Island. And of course, I visited SWAP clubs as much as I possibly could. So I think one of the biggest things that helped me with SWAP was changing my attitude. Because we have the weekly thoughts of the day, I remember sitting in a meeting thinking, I heard this one last week, and then I heard that one last week. But what I found was that you actually become those thoughts. Like everybody says a positive thought, you can't help but be in that positive environment. And one of my supervisors at the job, which I currently have said to me, Susan, you're one of the most positive people that I know. So I know that positivity, went into my daily life, it went into my job. And when I get a challenge, I look for the opportunities. How can I make this benefit me? What opportunity can I get from this? I remember Charlie telling us one day that when there's a project that you want to do, there's all the various type of people. Like you've got the visionary, which I think is more Charlie, and then you've got the people who help to make that happen. And I'm really good at being an administrator and following on, getting the things done, organizing people. So that really helped me a lot in discovering really who I am and what kind of work I do. So I've had a job now for 12 years with the local county. We've got 5 people on our team, and I really love my job. And I was talking to a friend on Friday. She said, It's not very often that you hear people who say, I really like my job, and I really like my job. So I think that was about it. Last year, probably about May, we had Fiona Redding come to speak as our guest speaker, and she was talking about her Steps for Change. And so I did the Steps for Change last July and August. It was a 6-week program. And she sent me a thing the other day, you know, how are things going? Would you like to do a review? And I thought about it and I thought, why not? Because, you know, I'm into opportunities and challenges. So I've decided to do that again because, you know, we're always looking at different things. Life is always different. So I'm looking forward to that. So some of the things that I've got from SWAP is being able to stand up in front of a group of people, speak to people, speak into a microphone, learning how to thank the speaker, listening skills. And one other thing too was handshakes. I know sometimes you meet somebody and they've got a really wimpy handshake, and it's hard not to judge that person. And so I learned how to handshake, and I actually mean it, you know, give a strong, good handshake, I think is important because that sets you off on a good thing with a person. So I'm very thankful for SWAP. I'm thankful for our global SWAP. It's been a really great part of my life. And when I left New Zealand in 2010, I thought I was saying goodbye to SWAP for the last time, not realizing that in probably 10 years later, it would be revived again. So thank you, everybody, and thank you for being part of my journey in life.
Susan, thank you very much. Greatly appreciated it. And I enjoy hearing, excuse the title, but from older swappers, because I can relate to those years. I can relate to the personal growth, and just what you mentioned about you were taught how to speak in front of a group. I can remember my knees knocking in my first time, and it was just a fabulous journey. So thank you very much for sharing that.
Thank you. Thanks.
Welcoming the godfather of SWAP, Charlie Nichols. Welcome to the meeting, Charlie. Good
morning, everybody.
Would you like to share a thought of the day, even though you've lost?
Oh, well, if I've lost, I've never be late to a meeting and you might win is my thought of the day. Thank you.
All right, we're going to move straight into our guest speaker because I'm conscious of time, and I'm calling on Alex to introduce Yvonne this morning. So, Alex, can I please call on yourself?
Yeah, delighted. Thank you very much. Sorry, I have not met you, Yvonne, but you certainly have a brilliant background. You began your career with Microsoft, traveling from Sydney to the UK and the USA and back again, training tech support teams. You're determined to teach Australia. That's a hard thought. That's an oxymoron, isn't it, Charlie? How to embrace...
You're an oxymoron.
Oh, Charlie.
How to embrace technology. She created a national character called Ms Megabyte. I've met a few Mrs. over the years. Yvonne transitioned to a conference MC and speaker, and naturally evolved into a speaking coach, assisting speakers to banish nerves and leave lasting impressions. Effective and impactful public speaking can turbocharge your personal brand. Thank you very much. We look forward to hearing what you've got to say.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that lovely introduction. And Susan gave a good little segue there with talking about how much she's learned about speaking and introducing speakers and thanking speakers properly and all that stuff. And in fact, you've done a great example of one of the tips that I give Charlie right there, which is that the speaker's introduction is the start of their talk. So you have to give the introduction to the event planner that will be giving the information to the MC, so that they introduce you in a way that is contextual to the audience. So that was the introduction that I provided, so that would give a bit of background about my sort of authority and expertise, but also customized to the reason that I was asked to speak, which was to speak about speaking. So it's a bit meta today, I suppose. And I did a little 5-minute talk about this earlier in the year, which I guess was a little preview. But we all do need to be lifelong learners of presentation skills and speaking. And I've been doing this for more than 30 years now. So I will tell you, I'm still learning. But some of the things that I have learned that make speaking easier and more impactful and more compelling and get me the result that I'm after, I've distilled down into a few little techniques and things. So I will share my screen and show you some of those things that I'm talking about. Okay, there we go. Hopefully you can see that full screen. And if you
we've actually got your speaker notes, Yvonne.
okay, thank you very much. Right, so let me switch screens here. Where is
Yeah, the one with the dots at the right.
oh, there we go.
Yeah.
This way.
Thank you.
There we go.
Beautiful.
All right, great. So you can find me pretty much anywhere on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, all of that as Yvonne Adele. So there's a few different reasons that you need to speak and present and stand up in front of an audience. Sometimes it's at work if you're part of a team and you need to present back to your own team or to the business. Sometimes it is for work. So if you need to be presenting to clients and that sort of thing. And sometimes it's as work, which is what I'm doing right now. I am speaking as a speaker, a professional speaker, and that is my actual career. I get hired to speak and MC conferences all around the world. So lots of different ways that you can speak. But just a little quick background about me and where I came from. Some of you may or may not remember me on the Today Show. I used to be called Ms Megabyte, and I was on the Steve and Tracy version of the Today Show. That's how far back we are going. So every Tuesday morning, I would appear somewhere around Australia talking technology, and Steve and Tracy would sort of act dumb back in the studio, and they'd be like, "Where are you today, Ms Megabyte?" You know, and I would teach them something about computers, you know, and it was actually quite good because they were, you know, Luddites themselves, I suppose. So they were speaking as the audience and learning from me as well. So sometimes I'd be in studio, sometimes I would be doing an outside broadcast. And that would have been from around 1996-ish through to 2005. And I was the very first person to have a technology column and page in the Women's Weekly magazine, and then Women's Day. And then I started doing training and had a best-selling book called Conquer Your Computer, and lots of different radio segments, and that's what then led to speaking. So once I had that sort of platform, then speaking event planners would ring Channel 9 or my agent and ask for me to come and speak at events, which then led me to events. So I have been speaking at events large and small for 30 years now. I'm nearly 55. And it has been an incredible experience. In fact, as soon as I found events, I left TV and media behind because I found it was much more fulfilling work. And, you know, I've got a direct connection to the people who are keen to see me speak on whatever topic it was. And as it turned out, I ended up emceeing because I was such a tech head that most of the technology conferences back then were full of male speakers, and so they needed a female MC to pop up between the male speakers, you know, give a summary, introduce the next speaker, keep the energy up in the room, and that sort of thing. So that's how I found MCing and discovered that being a bit of a control freak, I'm good at MCing because I can keep everyone on task and on time and on track. So lots of different rooms that I've been MCing in over the years, and this was a picture that we took in at International Women's Day last year, where they were encouraging people to make this symbol and send it out on the hashtag. So I got the photographer to stand behind me and get the whole room to do it, which was kind of cool. So I've got quite a few little extra bits and pieces that I've been doing along the way. As you can see in the top left there, when we had COVID, everything went online. So when we were all in lockdown, at the very first instance, all of the events that I was booked for were getting postponed to the end of the year. Now we got a few months down the track in COVID, and we discovered that the events couldn't run at all. So everything went online for a year and a half or so. And we had to very quickly adapt to being online professional speakers. And this is something that has stuck with us. And you will notice that if you're getting asked to speak at some of your client events and that sort of thing, you'll notice that sometimes they are actually asking you to just do this virtually now. And there are a lot of hybrid events now where some speakers are coming in from Zoom. It's great actually, because the in-person events are back, but we're still getting access to incredible overseas talent at these events because people do accept having people present virtually now, which is really good. I'm also a marriage celebrant. You can see that happy couple that I just married right there. So, you know, I like to muck around with that a little bit and say, you know, I'm marrying a girl called Sky on the weekend. And then I'll say to her husband, Alan, you know, so that sort of thing. Hybrid events. And I've got 2 grandchildren who are about to be 1 and 3 little boys. And I started an online fashion business with everything I learned from all of the retail events that I have been emceeing and speaking at for years and years and years. I thought, surely some of this knowledge has sunk in somewhere in my brain. I'm going to start this online fashion business where I designed a black dress for every female body shape. So it's called Yvonne Adele Studio, and there are 6 black dresses you can see there. So that's my little side hustle. I'm trying to build this online business. I'm still not convinced that products are better than services when it comes to selling online, but we will get there. So the different types of speaking, and in fact, as we go along today, just head over to the chat window and just, you know, put your questions there. I'll leave some time for questions at the end, but perhaps you could have a think about the #1 challenge that you have with public speaking. So if you could put that there in the chat window, I'll come back to that at the end and make sure I have covered everything off. So the types of speaking, obviously there could be a meeting. That's like, you know, the most common type of speaking in business, I suppose. And you probably won't have a stage when you're speaking at a meeting. A stage is where, you know, you've got a conference or an event or that sort of thing. A webinar, which is what we're doing right now. An interview, so you might be being interviewed virtually on video or audio or on stage or at a meeting, that sort of thing. So there's also video speaking and just audio, just like a podcast, for example. So I'll break it down into the different things to get you from the start of your talk to the end of your talk. So at the very beginning, it's all about preparing. And for preparing, you'll know that Jeremy Britton is the one that asked me to come and speak for you today. And he will tell you that what I asked was, who are the people that are going to be online? Why would they listen to me? Why would they be interested in hearing me speak? And what is it that they want to hear? So I like to ask my event planner, notification. I like to ask my event planner, what is it that you want your audience to think, feel, and do after the event? And that way you can completely customize your talk to ensure that it fits exactly the reason why they have chosen you to speak there. What do you want the audience to think, feel, and do afterwards? Because it's one thing to have someone come and speak, but it's another thing to have the audience be actually changed and have them undertake some actual tactics to take action on the things that they learned from your talk. That's what gives great value. So sowing the seeds, giving information about you, like I said, making sure that the MC is going to have the perfect introduction that sets the scene, that is the start of your talk, that really just perfectly flows into your talk. You know, you've seen this when you've been at a conference or you've watched some online event. You've seen when the introduction did not match the reason that the speaker was there. If it's the standard boring old introduction that's like a blurb off the back of a book that anyone could have read online, you know, that didn't really start off the talk for the context that the speaker was there for. So then creating your talk, this skeleton 3x3 you would have come across in the business world in many different forms, but this 3x3 you will never ever forget when you're creating a talk. I can, if I've got a keynote talk on, say, social media coming up in 3 days, and I'm sitting on a plane on my way to Sydney because that's where the talk is, and I've gone a couple of days before, and I'm not entirely sure which bits of my social media expertise I'm going to draw on just yet. I could sit on that plane on that 1 hour 20-minute flight, and I could map out on one page the exact keynote presentation I'm going to give by asking myself, given the audience and what it is that they want to get out of this particular event, the reason I have been chosen to speak there, the theme of the conference, the challenges of that audience in their industry, what are 3 things I want to cover in my keynote address? And then under each one of those 3 main headings, I'll say, what are 3 subtopics for that? So in this particular instance, I created this 3x3 for this presentation, this talk about speaking. So I decided I wanted to make sure that I covered off preparing for your talk, creating your talk, and delivering your talk. And underneath those main headings, there are 3 different subheadings, and you can see that this rolling out. So again, we're going a bit meta here, but this is the 1-page 3x3 that I created for this talk that I'm doing right now. So the 3x3, you can map it out on a page. Really, you should be able to get up and do a 20 to 30-minute presentation with just that 1 page as your notes, because you are the expert of your content. You are the authority in your area of expertise. You should know that stuff. You probably don't even need a PowerPoint presentation. You can see right here, I'm not using a whole lot of graphics. I'm just using this as an anchor for my main bullet points. I'm not reading a script. I'm not looking at notes. I don't have anything like that because I am the expert in this area of expertise. I know I'm going to speak to you about these 3 things, and I know that under each heading, which things I want to cover. This content is inside me. So creating your talk, we talked about preparing. Make sure you're preparing well, and make sure you've extracted the brief from the person that has asked you to speak. Or even if you know that you've got to go into a sales presentation, for example, what is the outcome you want from that presentation? So now let's talk about creating your talk. First, you need to decide on the format. Are you going to use PowerPoint, yes or no? I would say default to no. Default to no in every single instance. I didn't really need PowerPoint for this presentation, as you can see. I wanted to show a bit of my background because of the type of talks that happen on this platform with the SWAT people. So I did want to show some of those things about the Today Show and that sort of thing. But obviously, I didn't really need PowerPoint. I'm not showing much here right now. But you need to decide on whether you're going to use technology or not. If you do use PowerPoint or any of the other platforms, Prezi or those sorts of things, or Keynote, which is the Mac version, then absolutely do not put all of your words on the slide. We've all sat through presentations where we cannot see what is on the screen because there are so many words up there. It is so tiny. The speaker is using the words as their notes, and that's not necessary. So the absolute best presentations of all time are just full screen graphics, which is the anchor for the speaker to remind them, oh, this is what I'm talking about now. It might be, in this particular case, it might have just been a computer, a full screen computer, and then a little no entry sign. That would remind me, I'm going to say, you need to decide if you're going to have technology or not. So that sort of thing is absolute gold. Use your PowerPoint presentation as an anchor for what you're speaking about. And then if you are using technology like PowerPoint, determine your visuals and use really great quality visuals too. Like obviously we're beyond that whole clip art kind of style of things, but be aware of some of the platforms that you can use. For example, Unsplash is an incredible website. If you haven't been to it already, Unsplash has photos and animations and videos that are free licensed to use, as long as in some cases you have to credit the creator, in some cases you don't. But for example, I just went to Unsplash and typed in women educators because I wanted to find a picture of a woman teaching a class, and then you can see, you can click through and choose the image that you want, and it will tell you under what circumstances you can use that image, whether you have to credit the photographer or not. Obviously, iStock Photo and Getty Images and all of those ones are available as well, especially when if you are a professional speaker and you're rolling out a keynote talk that you're going to be giving to different industries across next year and that sort of thing. you may as well use something like iStock Photo, where you subscribe to the service and you can use as many images as you want while you're subscribing. So there's quite a lot of platforms like these, but Unsplash is the one that people don't seem to have heard about as much. So I thought I would mention that. So now we come to delivering your talk. We talked about preparing and creating. Make sure before you start creating your talk, you've mapped it out on a page with that 3x3. And then we talk about delivering your talk. And as I mentioned, always provide the intro, because that is the absolute start of your talk. Make sure that the intro is right. The amount of times I have been just off the side of the stage and I'm about to be introduced, and I see they're using an introduction that somehow they found on my website that I know it's old. They're not using the one that I provided. So then you've got to, think quick on your feet, and the very start of your talk has to sort of rejig things a little bit and give the context. So always that introduction is really important. Now, when I'm coaching people about speaking, one of the most common things that I get asked is, how can I deal with anxiety and nerves? So I'm going to cover off now a few of the fail-safe tips. Like, these absolute gold nuggets have never failed in probably, I've been speaking 30 years. I reckon I've been coaching for the last 15 years. As an MC, I'm coaching speakers just off stage who are about to go on, industry experts who aren't used to speaking, but they are there because they are the expert on retail privacy laws or ethics, or they're an economist or something like that, and they're not used to speaking, but they've been asked because it's specific to that conference and the challenges that the people are facing in that industry. And they're just, they're sitting backstage going, oh gosh, why did I agree to do this? So these are some tips that I help people with when I'm coaching people to be better speakers. These are the ones that land and stick. So first of all, you've earned the right to be there. You have been asked to do a talk on your area of expertise. The moment that you got asked to do that talk, it just goes to show that you have earned the right to be there. There's a reason why you were asked to be the speaker that will come along and do that talk on that day to that audience. So imposter syndrome out. You've earned the right to be there. And if you think of it this way, you are a vehicle for the message. It's not about you. And this is a really, really great one to remember. It's not about you. If you think about your talk being put into a speech bubble in the air next to you as you're speaking, and that is what the audience is looking at and judging and thinking about and wondering if it's right and wondering if it's right for them, you are a vehicle for the message on that day, and you have earned the right to be there. And the message is coming from you because it's your area of expertise, but you are just simply the vehicle that is delivering that message. And it's appearing in a speech bubble in the air. It's a really great way to reframe things and think about in that way. A lot of people have, if you record yourself doing a talk, even if it's an online presentation like this, and go back and listen to it or watch it, and most people go, I don't want to do that. There's a reason you don't want to do it, because you might discover yourself saying and ah. And look, Anthony Albanese is a great example. He cannot get through one sentence with that. And then I went and spoke to the farmers. They said, you'll notice this when you watch him next time. So many politicians do it. What they are doing is stopping the journalists jumping in with a question. They're filling up all of the available spaces with noise so that no one can jump in. But the problem is, it makes us as the audience feel less confident about that message that's being spoken. So if you have a little issue and a challenge with and ah, just remember what you're doing there is you're filling the gaps with noise, with words, so that no one else can jump in. And the other reason you might be doing it is to gather your thoughts. So take a look at this, for example. If I'm doing a talk about speaking, and I can't remember what my next point is, this feels okay. To leave a little gap like that. It's human. It didn't make anyone watching this go, oh, what's happening? I want to talk. I want to talk. There was a gap, you know. Just allow the full stops to live. They are a character in their own right, and they should have their own space, just like that. So don't run over the full stops with ums and ahs. Allow yourself to take a breath and take a moment and take a beat is probably the best way to imagine it. One of the things that happens when people are suffering from anxiety is, while they're speaking, is that their mind is racing. Things are starting to get away from them. They're starting to think while they're speaking, and now they're like, oh, I can't catch my thoughts. You've all probably felt this when you're doing a really important presentation and you're under a bit of pressure. So these 3 tips will absolutely help. The first one is to wiggle your toes. So everybody watching now, wiggle your toes in your shoes, in your socks, in your bare feet, in your thongs. Wiggle your toes. What that does instantly is it brings you back to your body. It's an incredible mindfulness technique that's used for anxiety and for all those sorts of things that can that can make your mind race. So if you wiggle your toes, it brings you back into starting to regulate your breathing. So the moment that you wiggle your toes, you realize, oh, okay, now I'm concentrating on something other than letting my mind race and letting my nerves get the better of me. If you have had that rising anxiety while you're on stage, you will start to feel that you're heating up a little bit. You might feel your heart racing. And what happens when people feel nervous, what do we all do? We take a deep breath. So you're on stage, you're speaking, or maybe just before you go on stage, you take a deep breath. Oh, okay, you take all these deep breaths, but you forget to take just as many out breaths. So if everyone watching now lifts up their shoulders while they take a deep breath, but then drops them and breathes out properly, like that, the breath out usually makes a noise. And if you can get away with it just off the side of the stage before you get on stage, taking a breath out is the thing that engages the vagus nerve, and the vagus nerve is the one that regulates your anxiety. So you've wiggled your toes, you've taken a breath out, so breathing out as many times as you're breathing in. That will stop you from hyperventilating. And then just notice the air around you. When I say that, like I'll notice, how does the air feel on my face, on my cheeks, on my feet? It's a bit hot in here. You know, I don't feel a breeze. And if you notice the air around you, you start to realize you're coming back to your body and the anxiety is starting to regulate. If you are speaking to an audience and you really do feel like you're starting to spiral a bit, you've tried those things, it can be a really good trick to say, turn to the person next to you and ask them how they've gone with this, whatever it is you just spoke about. And then you have a chance to quickly grab a drink of water, like get your mind right before you go back and finish your presentation. Now, if all else fails, so sometimes it doesn't matter how much coaching I've done with speakers, it doesn't matter, the event planner will say to me, hey, Yvonne, you're our MC. I'm trying to get this one expert to come and speak at our event. They hate speaking. They're really worried. They are absolutely, nervous. They don't want to speak. Like, could you have a chat with them? Could you coach them a bit? And I might try chatting to them and going through all of these techniques. And still, they're just like, look, I just don't want to do it. So in that case, I will say, let's go for putting them on a panel or doing a one-on-one interview with them. And that works so much better because I can then just have them on stage in a big, beautiful, tub chair, and they can just be talking to me. And the way, as PMC, and the way that I ensure that they are delivering on their area of expertise is that I will work with them in the lead up to the event to find out, imagine that you were on stage and you were speaking. What are the 3 things you would want to make sure that you cover? And under each one of those headings, what are 3 subtopics? So that will then form my questions, So if I was interviewing someone about the business of speaking, I would say to that person, how do you properly prepare for your talk? And then they start talking to me. So they're basically doing their presentation as a 2-person chat. Or we put them on a panel. So they've got a few other, colleagues up there with them. So that is an incredible way to do it. And then the ending. So at the end of your talk, you need to have a think before your talk about what is it that you want as the speaker out of this talk. In some cases, you're speaking as a marketing tool. So you're speaking as a lead magnet. In fact, today is one of those cases. You know, I've got a QR code at the end, and I hope you'll sign up to my newsletter on presentation skills. You know, that's one way to build your audience. Sometimes you're selling a product. Sometimes you're selling a service. Sometimes you're reporting on some findings or some project that you've been working on inside your business. You're reporting back to the team and that sort of thing. So you need to determine whether you're going to allow time for Q&A at the end. And this is something that the event planner and the MC also need to know, that you will be taking Q&A because that's part of your talk, or that you will not be taking Q&A. There might be some sort of particular requirements that you have. Always finish with some sort of resource to download, and as I mentioned, to capture people's emails, because you can look, whether you speak for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 40 minutes is the standard sort of keynote talk. Some people speak for an hour, which is more like a workshop. You know, doesn't matter how long you speak for, it's not enough to transfer all of your expertise over to the audience, enough for them to get everything that they can possibly get to learn and change. It's not a 4-week long course that you're doing here. So if you've done your job right, the audience is so keen to dive a little bit deeper that they're going to want to find out more. They're going to want to grab your resource, your download, your ebook, your 3 video series, that sort of thing. And that becomes your sales funnel. And in fact, even if you're not actually wanting to continue to try and sell to that particular audience, you would just say doing a friend a favor or something, it's still great to have some sort of resource that people can download, even if they don't have to provide an email address to get it, just so that you're sort of closing the loop on your authority and your experience and your responsibility to that audience, I suppose. And always respect the applause. You know, some people will say, and thank you for having me today, and start walking off, you know, or they'll say, this is the awkward bit, that what happens is the speaker will say, now we've got time for Q&A. The MC will sort of go out to the audience and start, you know, with the microphone getting a bit of Q&A, but then they'll say, oh, you know, that's the last question that we had today. And the MC then just starts sort of taking over and wrapping up. But really, the audience does want a chance to thank you, and our cultural way of saying thank you is applause. So leave time for that applause, absolutely. And so I'll put that QR code up now, and then I'll go to the questions. If you want to scan that or go to that link, I've got a 2-page PDF which wraps up pretty much everything I spoke about today. It gives you those techniques for banishing nerves when you are speaking, and it has a whole lot of information about how to become a more confident speaker and have less anxiety when speaking, and some tips from global world-class speakers from around the world on their tips for speaking as well. So we will take that out and stop sharing and check if there are any questions. Let us see here.
We don't seem to have any questions, but we've got some great comments. So I think your talk has been very much enjoyed. And it's my pleasant task today to thank you for the talk you've done. I did hear you speak when you did the 5 minutes some time ago, and I was so excited when you were going to be talking today. And I could do a whole talk on saying the things I enjoyed from today's, but I will restrain myself. And 2 things that I really loved better than anything else was your information about overcoming nerves. You do have the right, and remember to breathe out. That's a good one. But you also touched on one of my pet hates with speakers, and that's the ahs. I really hate it. And there's actually talks that I don't tune into because I know that speaker's going to be so distracting with all their ums and ahs. It just does my head in. And I love your plan. I like simple, direct, not too much to remember. So today has been a wonderful lesson for us all, and thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
And here's your clap.
I saw all the heads were down during that. Like everybody was writing notes. That was
Okay, good. Well, I put the link in the chat window in case you didn't get the QR code there. So yeah, you can download my 2-page lot of tips. And if anyone wants to have a chat about speaking, I'm always happy to have a chat. If you've got a big presentation coming up and you've done your PowerPoint or you've got your talk and you want to do a rehearsal with a professional speaker, let me know. I'm happy to help.
Yvonne, thank you very much. Second time round, great. Really appreciate your input. And thanking on behalf of the group, I've been watching everyone's faces, except for Charlie's. Charlie's a bit faint there, but the interest was great level this morning. So thank you very much. Moving forward, a couple of things to report on is that we do have a new convention coordinator or director that's been appointed, which is Yvonne Emson, and she's taking control of pulling the convention on the Gold Coast together. So you'll see something via email, via messenger, and at the next meeting. So quite pleased with that promotion onto the committee. We have our next meeting is Cup Day, correct, Rhonda?
Yes,
And you want to have a tart-up meeting? Is that what it's called?
absolutely. Hats, champagne,
What is
and I'm organising a sweep.
What is your expectation, madam? Can you share?
My expectation? I expect everybody to come tarted up from the neck up. Glass of bubbles beside you. We are organising a sweep and Greg has donated the prizes for the sweep. So I'll be cutting up tickets and drawing numbers and there'll be first, second and third prize. So traditionally we have a lovely meeting, or we always have a good meeting, but Melbourne Cup is always special. So make sure you're here.
Well, thank you very much. Just on that, Jeremy, who is our guest speaker for Cup Day?
Cup Day will be Anne Carlson and Steve Pipe.
Right. And 5?
Sorry?
Anne is the 5-minute, are you saying?
Yep.
Right, okay, thank you very much. Now, also, Miss Rhonda, you're having pulling together a social function on the Gold Coast. Have we set a date for that as yet?
No, we haven't. It's escaped me, actually. I'll go back to the minutes and get that organised.
Okay, well, I thought you may just want to mention something, but you'll see that on the messenger. Charlie, coming in late, is there anything you would like to share while you're awake? Hello? Get yourself off mute, you old sausage.
You mean I've been talking for the last 15 minutes and I've been on mute?
You wonder why I worry about you. Anything you'd like
I really enjoyed our speaker today. It was excellent information. Thank you.
All right. On that note, Charlie, seeing you've been sitting back in your rocker and resting, it'd be great to see you take us out today.
Well, see, I'd really like to take you out, Greg, but it's against the law.
You're not my type, Charlie. But everyone, thank you very much for joining. Great to have you all. Some good laughs, some good content, some good feedback. And now let's pass it over to Grandpa to get us out of here.
Well, we always end our, this is for the speaker, we always end our meeting with our own little war cry, shall we say, and we do it 3 times. I'm alive, I'm well, and I feel great. We do it 3 times and we end with yes, 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 I'm special. So you can keep up with the rest of the group. So are the group ready? Let's do our exercises, get our arms ready. No flying, but anyway, on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, I'm alive.
Well, and I feel great.
I feel great.
Alive. I'm well, and I feel great.
I'm alive. I'm well. I feel great. Yes, yes, yes. I'm special.
I'm special.
Thanks, Pops. That was great. I wish everybody a great month ahead. Look forward to seeing you on Cup Day. Looking forward to seeing some of the tarts on the day, Rhonda, and what some of the men can do. So have a great month, ladies and gentlemen. Look forward to seeing you next month. Take care.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Bye. Bye.